Yo, what's up? It's your brother. And hopefully your friend, Big Hill. Rockwayce in the building. Each one teach one. Black power. Black African power. So check this out, man. I'll make this video. I haven't made a video in a while. Somebody asked me that. It's like, dude, you stop making videos? And I was like, nah, it's just, man, that, you know, I don't make videos because I'm trying to be some type of personality or something, you know. I only started making videos to satisfy a desire I have, you know what I'm saying, to share the information and just talk about certain things. So it's not like when I do it, you know what I mean, I'm concerned about who listens to them, or, I mean, of course I want to be heard, because if not, I wouldn't make the video and put it out. But that's not really, if I think about the main reasons that I do it, I would think it's more so, other than just wanting to be seen and heard, is just to satisfy a desire that I have. Like right now, I'm bored. I had some things on my mind that I wanted to talk about. So I said, okay, let me make this video. And what I want to talk about is dealing with toxic people. Toxicity. And the reason I want to talk about it, because I've had a couple of instances that happened to me over the last month or so. That really, I mean, it's something that I've known and I've learned a long time ago, but sometimes we need to be reminded of the things that we already know. And what I've been reminded of is that toxic people can draw you into their toxicity and make you toxic quicker than you can elevate them and try to get them to resonate higher frequency than the toxic place that they're in. You know what I'm saying? I've had a couple of instances lately, man, to help me to realize and understand that. And the first one was, you know, it was a sister that reached out to me through my inbox, you know, and then, you know, we started conversing mostly about the African Aboriginal argument, I would say. You know what I'm saying? She is one of the ones, she was trying to, what she was doing was trying to get me to understand and presenting information and evidence about how we, all of us that are here, all the 50 million black Americans that's in Africa, all of us are not descendants of West Africa. They exaggerated enough. And she presented a lot of information, you know what I'm saying? And I told her about my DNA test and how it goes back to West Africa. She even presented me with information that kind of shows that the DNA tests are not totally reliable. And the best way to find out your ancestry is to go through a record search, a record check. You know, and then we would have conversations, but during the conversations, how can I say this without being egotistical? During the conversations, we developed an affinity and started liking each other, right? So, you know, and even when she brought me the conversation, I told her that I'm really not into that. A few years ago, back in like 2014, 2013, I was doing a lot of reading and studying on that, and I kind of migrated past that, because when you into the type of spirituality that I'm into, comedic science and stuff like that, you move past the geographics of who you are, and you started trying to be more in touch with your cosmic origin. And that happens as a result of your study and the things that you research and read about the origin. I mean, there's the physical plane, but me being, me probably having more years behind me than I do in front of me, because I'll be 52 years old Friday, I'm more so concerned with cleansing my soul and getting my soul ready for the transition that I'm gonna make. You know what I'm saying? Because the study that I do lets me know that that's part of the transition, is that, man, you have to make sure that you don't got a lot of feathers on your soul. I'm not really gonna get into all that. So, but anyway, through this course of this conversation, I found out, man, that we were starting to begin, you know, I would present information and we would begin to argue. You know, we begin, and me, myself, when I feel like that I'm being misunderstood, it's a character flaw of mine. You know, when I feel like I'm being misunderstood, you know, if I have information and I'm going to stand on my square and and then we're in the process of a debate, man, I'm going to defend my point with the tenacity of a pit bull. But when I realize, man, that I'm going overboard in the points that I'm trying to make, because I'm responding now to a lot of ignorance on her part, and what I'm responding to now is her lack of desire to even try to understand what I'm talking about. It's like this person, like I would say something, right? She would ask me something, I would give her truth, give her my truth from my perspective and my logic. Something that you can't argue with. Like if I asked you a question and you give me your truth, how am I going to argue with that? How am I going to dismiss that and say that's wrong? Because that's your truth from your perspective and your logic. The only thing I can do is try to question you and find out where it comes from. I can't tell you it's wrong. You know what I'm saying? So when I would do that, what I started to notice is that she wouldn't even, like when I would tell her something, she would like, whoa, no. It was like she would dismiss that, formulate her own thoughts, opinions, and narrative, and then argue it as if I said it. And I'm trying to tell her, no, that's not what I said. That's not, because I'm thinking that, yo, you just misunderstood me. But over a period of time, and we had this relationship going on for like 2, 3, 4 months. So over a period of time, I started to realize, like, damn, you do this. I mean, you call me or we get to talking, and then you start singing the same old song. Have you ever listened to the same old song over and over? It gets fucking irritating. When a motherfucker starts singing the same song, it's like if you got a broken record. You know how broken records sound. Play it, jump back, play it again, jump back, play it again, jump back, play. If you listen to that for a while, you're going to be irritated as hell. So that's what it became, and I noticed that the nature of the shit that she was talking about was real toxic. But in my desire to want to get closer to her, I was trying to discount that. And in my mind, like, nah, I'm going to raise her up a degree. But I realized, man, that you can't raise up a toxic person. That motherfucker was making me toxic. You know, and then one day in one of our conversations, I had an epiphany. I was like, I said, hold on, man, wait. We've been going through this shit for too much, for too long. So I started asking some real serious questions about why when we have this certain conversation, this shit gets real toxic. And then when I sit back and listen to her answer, it became clear to me. I'm like, okay, so you really not even trying to understand. You just need me as somebody, as an African-centered person, and you being on the Aboriginal paradigm, you just need me as someone to shoot down and argue with, to try to make the way you feel valid about your place. You know, and I'm telling, I'm like, look, man, when it comes to that shit, we all got a common fucking enemy. It doesn't make no difference whether my brother is Aboriginal, whether my brother is Moorish, whether my brother is a Muslim, whether my brother is Christian. Man, they don't give a damn about that. The only thing they looking at is this, the color of our skin. And then, you know, if I identify as a black man, you want to come up with all this other shit like, yo, man, that you dead. I'm like, okay, thanks to the Moorish brothers, I understand that in a court of law, we can't identify as black because in the court of law, you're legally dead when you go along with those classifications that we've been given, Negroes, colored, and black. The Moorish brothers have let us know that. But until I find myself in a court of law, I'm going to identify as a black man. And I don't mean black as in the color black. I like the way the brother Khalid Abdul Muhammad, you know, culture, consciousness, and the corresponding cosmic connection. Black is the essence. Black is not a color, it's the essence from which all colors come from. But if you talk to people who want to make that argument, they only see it through the paradigm of black as a color. So to me, when I try to explain it to you and you still not getting it, I'm like, okay, you either can't understand, you don't have the ability to understand, or you just don't want to understand because you need that argument. Because if you come into an understanding, then that takes away your argument. You know, if you tell me I'm identifying as a color, and I'm like, no, I'm not identifying as a color. To me, it's the essence. I'm identifying I was created in the triple dark blackness of the womb. That what I was created. All life is created. When you plant a seed in the ground, you plant it in the triple dark blackness of the earth. We were created from the triple dark blackness of the universe. That's the essence of all color. All color comes from black. So when I tell you that, that takes away your color-coded argument. But so what you do, you don't want to accept that, so what you do is you refigure it and you give it your own spin and your own narrative, and then you argue a point that I didn't make. So if I'm not aware of what you're doing, I'll find myself trying to defend a point that I didn't make because I feel like you're misunderstanding me. So, man, you know, I went into that, man. I realized that I was getting very toxic, man. I mean, this shit was taking me to such a toxic place, I had to just back up out the conversation. You know, and I felt bad the way I done it because I used a tactic that I know that would make her break away from me. You know what I'm saying? You know, sometimes, you know, I have to, you know, that nigga came out of me in a vile way, I'll put it like that, because some of the language that I was using is unbecoming of who I really am, because it's something I don't usually do when I'm talking to women. You know, and I done that, man. So I said all that to say is that when you are dealing with somebody and you are a person who are about spiritual elevation, you're about trying to resonate high frequency, you're about trying to stay in your higher self, you try to stay balanced in your lower high self, but you really try to stay up in your higher self, then it's going to be detrimental to you spiritually to stay in constant contact and communication with a person who's very toxic. Because believe me, they're going to make you toxic. It's like if you clean and you run out and a motherfucker jump in a mud puddle. You was clean, but when you get out that motherfucker mud puddle, you're going to be muddy. And it's easy, and you're not going to be able to turn the mud puddle clean just because you clean and you went in it. You know, there's a process that a toxic person, I used to be a toxic person. There's a process that they have to go through to cleanse their spirit of all that toxicity, you know, and toxicity shows up in other ways too, you know, language, the language that we use. Like recently, you know, the young brother, I'm not going to mention his name on Facebook, you know what I'm saying, and he talking about the Nation of Islam and Minister Louis Farrakhan, and the nature in which he was done it was real toxic. And this brother, man, I tried listening to him. You know, I used to like the brother when he first came out, but man, I'm what they call an old head. I don't like to use that language. You know what I'm saying? But fuck it, for this purpose, I'll be an old head. I'm 50. I'll be 52 Friday. I'm a middle-aged man. So when I'm listening to a young brother, Doc, you need to come with a certain level of maturity if you're gonna teach me. And I'm listening to this brother, and he sounds like a high school student, man. You know what I'm saying? A high school student that done read a few books and got a few knowledge. A very gross display of immaturity. You know what I'm saying? The language is toxic. And I'm trying to listen to him so I can just see where the brother, but the toxic is. You know, how am I going to listen to you and every other word come out your mouth is bitch, motherfucker, nigga? Every other word. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm kind of foul-mouthed myself. But I don't use profanity in the spirit of degrading people. You know, this bitch nigga Farrakhan. These punk ass niggas in the Nation of Islam. Man, come on, bro. You are creating enemy. You supposed to know all about this biochemical shit, all this energy. You supposed to know about energy, frequency, and vibration, but you don't understand that the energy you putting out in the universe gonna come back and it's gonna hurt you, man. I said the same shit about Dr. Umar Johnson, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even a scholar, but damn, I done enough reading, have enough knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to understand how the universe works. And I understand if I put out that type of energy, that's what's gonna come back and visit me. That's the hardest lesson I had to learn in my life, man. My mother used to try to tell me that when I was in my young 20s, man, when I used to be living foul. She's telling me, boy, this shit you doing gonna come back and it's gonna slap you in your face so hard, you ain't gonna know where it come from. That was her way of trying to tell me, son, you gonna reap what you sow. And it took me a lifetime. It took me from the next 10 to 12 years before that lesson really came and got me. You know what I'm saying? And I learned, man, to be careful in word, deed, and actions, you know, and what you put out in word or deed. What you do to people, how you talk to people, and the energy that you emanate, the energy the frequency that you vibrate on. If that shit is toxic and negative, that's what you're gonna get from the universe. So, you know, I was listening to this shit. I was like, man, I can't listen to this. This shit is like poison to my motherfucking spirit. You know what I'm saying? It's poisonous. You know what I'm saying? You know, I can't digest it. It's like, you know, even with the young lady I was telling you about that was having me watching several videos about these Aboriginal brothers like Dark Man and Dark Man X and all these other brothers. I'm like, you know, I started trying to watch it because I'm up on information. And the first thing I would start hearing is them talking about other people. You know, you want to start, instead of you teaching what you're trying to get out, you want to downgrade other people. I'm like, nah, man. Right there is where you lose me. Because I'm like, man, if you don't have to, the teachers I listen to, the older brothers like the John Henry Clarks, the Dr. Benzes, the James Smalls, the Francis Cress Welsings, the Anthony Browders, you know what I'm saying, Barashanga Isa Musa, the people that I got, even Ray Hagen's in my early conscious days when I was making the transition from the church into consciousness and comedic science. You know, all these teachers that I really, even Farrakhan, you know what I'm saying, over the years. All these teachers never really taught trying to get you to learn by putting down other people and what they're doing. So when I'm listening to somebody and that's the avenue that you go down, you lose me right there. I'm like, yeah, man, you know, you can present your information without attacking somebody else. I'm not one of them dudes that want to hear that. You know what I'm saying? If you got a whole lot of egotistical, braggadocious things to say and you trying to teach me, you need to leave that out. You know what I'm saying? Because you're going to lose me. And I was trying to explain her to that, you know what I'm saying? And then another thing that's dangerous, and this is about, I guess I'm just going to go on the hodgepodge and shit. I ain't made a video in a while, so I'm probably all over the place with this. Is about, this is the danger in YouTube scholarship. Now, I'm the one that's going to tell you that I've got so much as a college education from YouTube. Especially back when I first started looking at this shit back in 2009, 2010. The level of information that I was able to get and acquire from YouTube would send me, it was like a college education because I listened to a lot of lectures. But the thing about the YouTube, I always go back and do my own research about information. When I'm watching something, I'll take notes. Or I'll make a mental note of it. Like if I'm driving, I'm listening to it, I'll make a mental note, say you need to go read about that. So I do a lot of reading anyway. I love books. So I'm constantly digesting information. I'm constantly seeking knowledge through a process of reading books. And what I've learned about YouTube scholars, like the chick that I was talking about, and when I went back, no, hindsight is 2020. When you regurgitate everything that you was able to memorize from a YouTube video, then you're empty. If you don't do a lot of reading and you don't do a lot of other research and shit, and only thing you going on is the memory of what somebody else here said to you, you can only remember so much of it. So you're going to regurgitate what you heard in the videos, but once you run out of that, then you left with nothing. Then that's when the toxicity gonna come out. You may be presenting good information about what you heard. You know what I'm saying? But if you haven't done your own reading, study, and research and placed it under critical examination and formulate your own thoughts and opinions about it and have the ability to express it from your perspective based on your own research, then you basically just parroting. And once you parrot everything that you can remember, then you left to yourself. And if you don't have nothing else, then that's when all that toxic shit gonna come out. And then in the case of this other brother, this young brother that I'm talking about, my dad used to tell me something, man, when I was young. when I was young, when I was a teenager, I used to try to impress my father. My father was an old damn Fred Sanford fan. That motherfucker used to call me dummy and shit. Hey, dummy. And he wasn't saying it to be mean or nothing like that or to put me down. It's just that the nigga was an old Fred Sanford fan. That's what Fred Sanford used to call Lamont. So I guess in his mind, I'm going to call my son like Fred Sanford. We sit and watch that shit, and I'll be like, oh, that's why he called me dummy, because Fred Sanford. Now, when you put that type of stuff on a child, it's going to do one or two things. It's going to make him turn in and feel like a dummy, or in my case, it's going to make him prove to you I'm not a dummy. And that's what I've done. You know, I was a straight A student all the way through elementary school. I got my first C in junior high school when I got into math. When the fractions fucked me up, I wasn't really good in math. Made it up to like geometry, I think geometry, when I was in high school. And once I got my math credits and shit, I didn't take no more math. I'm like, yo, I ain't got to take no more math. Well, fuck that shit. Wish I wouldn't have done it. But anyway, so my father used to tell me when I was a teenager, because I would go and research words and shit, and I would take a real simple statement, and I would get a thesaurus, and take each word and break it down into other words, and every word had to have 2 or 3 syllables, right? So I would go make this grand statement to my father. He would just laugh, and he would say some shit to me like, man, you know, there's a very thin line between the intellectual and the educated fool. And he also used to tell me, man, that knowledge in the hands of a fool is a detrimental tool. And looking at some of these young brothers, like the one in particular on YouTube, man, knowledge in the hands of a fool. Because anytime, man, that you got knowledge and you don't have the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding how to wield that knowledge, man, you're going to get yourself in trouble. It's a detrimental tool to you. You know what I'm saying? Some things you don't supposed to know. You ain't ready for it yet. You know what I'm saying? Like I look at this brother and you know what I'm saying, you go dig up a lot of information and you don't have the wisdom or to understand how to wield that information, and you go on the attack and you attack the whole nation of people. You attack the man that's beloved by millions of black folk. Millions of black people. And you think just because you done went and got some knowledge about some shit that maybe the masses don't know, and then you ready to go on the attack to try to slander this man, man, that's not very wise. So knowledge in the hands of a fool is a detrimental tool. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I'm going to shut the fuck up now. I said all that to say this, and my main point of making this video is about toxic people, man. Be careful when you're dealing with toxic people. Because if you're a person, man, who strives to vibrate high frequency, you strive to stay spiritually healthy, you strive to better yourself and stay, to improve yourself mentally, emotionally, spiritually, when you run into toxic people, back up off of them. You know what I'm saying? Because their toxicity is going to pull you in and it's going to make you toxic. The longer you engage with them, the more toxic you are going to become. You know what I'm saying? So it's best, man, when you see what you're dealing with, is just back up out of it. And that's what I've done, you know what I'm saying? And since I've done that maybe about 3-4 weeks ago, man, I just feel better. You know what I'm saying? And I had to ask myself, man, what is it about that toxicity that was attracting you to it? I said, no, man, what it was, you was attracted to the woman. You had designs on getting next to her. So you was trying to overlook what was becoming painfully obvious to you. You know what I'm saying? And as long as we wasn't talking about this one subject, we was good. But when we talked about that one subject, man, it was like, you know, and I was like, well, wait a minute. Hold on. And I realized when I started stepping back, I said, oh, okay, this ain't even about trying to get an understanding. You just need me as somebody, as an African-centered person, somebody to ridicule, shoot down for being African-centered. You ain't trying to understand. You just need me as somebody to point at and castigate and cast aspersions at. You know what I'm saying? And when you do that, I get more tenacious in my defense of who I am. Instead of realizing, you know, then when I had the epiphany, I backed up off of it. So yeah, you know, watch them toxic people, man, and keep on vibrating high. Because as long as we all vibrating high, we better for each other, man. That be my whole point most of the time when I'm talking about this shit. We are better for each other, regardless of the ideology that we try to live by, because in the core of all of our ideologies, all of them is the same. Love God, love your brother. And you know I don't love God, but be your higher self. Love the things divine and love your brother. You know what I'm saying? Respect and love your brother. And then in this construct we live in, they don't give a fuck about none of that shit. Only thing they care to know and really concerned about is if your ass ain't going along with what the fuck they putting down. If you ain't going along with the status quo and the narrative they putting out here for people, for the masses, then you an enemy of the state. You know what I'm saying? So keep that in mind, man, when you're dealing with folks. Once again, it's your brother. And hopefully your friend, Big Hill. Peace. I'm out.